There is a master in Freemasonry as well. The Freemasons serve a god they call the Great Architect of the Universe. It is a polytheistic god they claim is the head of all religions. The G in the middle of the compass and T square stands for geometry, because they believe by studying the created, they are studying the creator. When it's just the opposite. The Masons know that they have predominantly destroyed the truth of who God really is, so they only require an initiate to profess belief in an ultimate deity. Incrementally they will expose you to their God, who is Satan, and because the initiate has no truth in them, they will be convinced to follow after this great architect and worship the sun. Like you saw earlier with the compass and straight edge, there is something quite extraordinary embedded within the framework of physical reality. However, there is a huge gap that we have not yet addressed. Unless you are a Satanist, you probably have no clue it was there. When we go back to the Grand Lodge in England, and we take a closer look at the pentagram in front of the door, you'll notice it isn't the same as the pentagram from Metatron's cube. This time, what we're going to do here is draw a straight line of arbitrary length. Then make a vertical line to form an upside down cross. Now make a mark anywhere to the left of the line and call it half. Simply double that length and make a circle with radius equal to 1. Next, we'll make a circle centered on our 1/2 mark, making the radius at the intersection of our vertical axis. This forms two crescents, or what appears to be an ellipse. Now, centered on this intersection, we will make another circle with radius intersecting the bisection on our horizontal axis, which was formed when we created our previous circle. Perfect. Now we've created our first two lengths. All we need to do is make two more circles centered on each of these 2 points, with radius through our vertical intercept formed by our initial circle. Simply connect the 5 intersections on our original circle. Now, we've created an equidistant pentagon. Each point has radius 1 from the origin. Connect the corners with a straight line. Amazing. Using this algorithm of circles and a straight edge, we've now created an equidistant pentagram, just like from the Freemasonic Lodge. Let's see if the measurements of this pentagram exhibit impressive mathematic qualities just like we saw from Metatron's cube. First, let's measure each edge of our pentagon. We expect these measurements to be odd since they are curvilinear lines. What do you know, they are each 1.165. Now, let's measure the longest lengths from each corner to each other, along our pentagram. Their lengths are each 1.89. Through connecting the corners of our equidistant pentagon, it created a smaller equidistant pentagon in the middle. Each edge of this pentagon is equal to 0.45. To find the lengths of each arm of the pentagram we can measure it, and double check our answer by subtracting 0.45 from the length, 1.89, to find that each arm of the star is 0.725 in length. Finally, let's take a look at the angles which were created when we used this algorithm to see if there is any symmetry there. Wow! Not surprisingly, we see that each angle is equal to 180 divided by 5, which is 36. So internally, we are going to see angles that are all multiples of 36. For example, this angle is 72, this one is 36 times 3, or 108. Earlier, with Metatron's cube, once we knew that each angle was 30 or 60, we then realized that we could simply draw a ton of 30 and 60 degree lines, and by doing so it would create an infinite amount of Metatron's pentagrams. Similarly, with the equidistant pentagram all we need to do is create 36 degree lines and it will create an infinite amount of equidistant pentagrams. Yet, there is something else impressive here. The shortest length here formed by our internal pentagon is 0.45, when we add it to the next shortest line of 0.725, it equals the third shortest line on each edge of our pentagram. When we add this third line to our second line, it equals the length of our longest line which is each length of our pentagram. Incredible. Now, Take the shortest length from our internal pentagon, which is 0.45, then use it to divide the next shortest length of 0.725, and we get... wow! We've found our second transcendental number, phi, or 1.618, to another infinite stream of non-repeating numbers that humans will never find the end of. It doesn't end there. Take the second shortest length of 0.725, and use it to divide our third length of 1.165, again, we get phi. Repeat the division for the fourth length of 1.89 by the third length, and once more, we get phi. You can keep going with this to infinity if you want. Simply add 1.89 plus the previous length and divide it by the previous length. This is called the golden ratio. Now that I've determined the rate of change for this geometric form, I can write an equation to continue this sequence for any number. Of course, with this use of geometry we really don't need to. As you can see from this pentagram, it forms a proportional pentagon in the middle. So if we use the outside lines as the internal pentagon of a larger pentagram, we can just draw straight lines from each edge, and we know that where they intersect it will be the exact length of the next divinely proportional ratio. Or, we can simply piece it up and see what happens when we make a bunch of 36-degree angled lines. At this point, you've nearly seen every logo or symbol on the planet, since they are predominantly variations of these two geometric proportions. The more cleverly disguised one of these two symbols are, the more respected the creator of the company or logo is among the occult. A clever disguise of these geometric figures is akin to a secret handshake and says, "Hey, we are part of the club." For example, we know Elron and Jack Parsons were involved in sex magic rituals to summon the supreme Thelamite goddess Babylon. Aleister Crowley integrated the worship of Thelma into the Ordo Templi Orientis. Take a look at the Thelematy symbol. It's called a unicursal hexagram. A unicursal form is one that is drawn without raising your pen. The occult has found paranormal within universal forms. For this example, let's get back to Metatron's cube. Instead of completing it, all we've got to do is leave out the top and bottom parts of the two triangles. And there it is, just that simple. We are really seeing that Elrond built an almost identical religion off of Crowley's. In the middle is the Rosicrucian 5-petaled rose. We also saw where this came from at the tail end of our 36-degree pentagram lines. Occultists revere the 5-petaled flower because it forms a pentagram that is equal to the divine proportion. Also because it symbolizes the female gender, which they exalt since only women grow a child. We know Freemasonic spouses and daughters are eligible to join the followers of the Eastern Star, but, aside from what we've seen, why would they call it that?